show is not for kids.
When did the Will Smith slap happen? Was that this year?
That was 2019, wasn't it?
2022. Oh, wow.
That was a post-COVID event?
Well, yeah, that was like the awards after.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you think Will Smith is like, oh, thank goodness, like with all the headlines and stuff lately, he's like, nobody even remembers that. I'm in the clear.
He voted for Trump just to try and get out of being in the news, even though it was like already pretty irrelevant by then. Is he still banned from the Oscars?
I don't care.
They figured that out for him. My favorite fun fact is how he was gonna be in Django Unchained. And
but he wanted to make it a love story, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to change the writing like significantly, and Tarantino was like, no. My favorite roast is the comments being like, Will Smith personally saved so many movies by not being in them. Like,
Wow. Shall we begin the show?
Is that what we're doing? We're recording a show?
Yeah. I hit record. Please, Tom, tell me you hit record.
Welcome to Shelf Stable.
Holy shit.
Gotcha.
Welcome to Shelf Stable, a podcast celebrating board games that have stood the test of time. I'm your host, Kenny Kazuyama.
And I'm your other host, Tom Bowers.
Today, our feature topic is
Board Game Black Mirror Edition. That's right. Black Mirror, but what if it was board games? But what if it was Black Mirror? Which comes first? Before we get into that, though, we're just going to talk about some of the crap we've been playing recently.
we had a convention locally here, Gem State Gaming Convention. So we got some games played. We got the chambers loaded. Talk about burnout. We untapped for beginning of turn, and we're good to go. I got to play 1880 China from 2010. This is designed by Helmut, Ohley, and Leonhard Orgler. Published this edition by Lookout Games. That's right. Uwe had to personally touch this one to make it happen. Although I think this is a reprint. This is a second edition.
Okay.
So 1880 China is part of the notorious 18XX series. And it is actually my first 18XX game. So I've watched people play them. I watched YouTube videos. I learned how the system works. I did a lot of research for this, Tom. I just want that to be out in the ether.
Okay.
Like I spent like 2 weeks preparing for this because I was asked to teach it. If you're familiar with the 18XX series, you're probably like, oh my God, they started with 1880 China. Yeah, it's not necessarily the simplest or most pure version of the series. What I ended up doing was watching a bunch of content and reading the rules for 1830. And then I went to 18 Chesapeake. And then finally I returned to China and tried to understand the differences between those. I think that's the only way I was getting through this teach, because the rule books are horrendous. Chesapeake's good, but 1830 is like tolerable, and 1880 is indecipherable unless you know other 18XX games. It's not designed to be a rule book that is standalone. It's meant to be a delta of sorts that either intentionally or unintentionally makes a lot of assumptions that you know how these things work. From a usability and onboarding standpoint, this was like one of the most horrible things I had to go through. And I enjoy learning and reading and internalizing rules, but this was too much for me. This was worse than the time I learned Pax Transhumanity. But the difference with this and Transhumanity is that while it was obtuse, it did pique my interest. You know, I had already been kind of interested in 18XX games, but this made me go, oh, I'm seeing all the little things now. And the more I was reading, especially while I was reading 1830, I'm like, I can see why this is a hobby in and of itself for people. I still stand by that, like, Cube Rails games are kind of like the direct predecessor to this. I know that timing wise, that's not the case, but I feel like if you're getting into games, you probably go cube rails and then you go 18xx. There's no reason to jump off the deep end and go straight into 18xx. And I would even argue that the cube rails games as a whole are a nicer package. You know, from a learning, from a time, how much time they take, how nice they look, how interesting they can be. They, like, if you really had to compare them, I would still be like post 1880 China, still more of a fan of cube rails. But I will say that 18xx brings something really unique and interesting. And this game of China was super cool. I think the best way I can compare it is like a city building video game or something like that, which was not the comparison I thought I was going to make. I thought it was going to be more along the lines of like an investment stock market game, or like, I don't know, like just straight up like building rails and routes, like almost like a factory thing. But it was more like City Skylines or something. I would get this injection of money and build this rail line and upgrade my rails so that I could make more money. And then that money would allow me to go and evaluate what rails are most profitable, and then drive changes in the market, you know, drop the value of a certain stock or invest in another. My gameplay was definitely, it was focused on manipulating a lot of the other stocks. I think I was the only person that was really proactively purchasing other people's rails. A lot of folks were either operating two rails or buying one and slightly investing in another, but mostly focused on their one. I kind of just did one of them loosely and then just played the market. But I gotta say, I really, really enjoyed my experience with 1880 China. More so than I thought I would, which is saying something because I was pretty hyped. I think the thing that's most impressive about this game is that despite it being obscenely long, we played 9 hours and we didn't finish. And that includes a teach, and we were all new to it. But like, despite it being that long and barely taking any breaks, I felt engaged the whole time. And there was a decent amount of downtime, but that downtime was valued because it allowed me to think about what I was going to do next. There's something about the pacing of this game that's just super interesting. To go back to the comparison with City Skylines, you get that injection and you're like, ooh, I want to do this next. And you just always have those, ooh, I want to do this next moments. And just when you think things are going to like dry up, there's like a slightly different rules change that happens because you're changing phases or ages in the game, and then new stuff gets introduced. So you're seeing the board evolve, you're seeing the rules evolve, and that gives you a new thing to like sort of explore. That's only slightly different. It makes you go, you know, even if it's just the ability to upgrade tiles to a third level or something like that. 1880, one of its unique things is it has a communism period. As the ages progress and you get to communism, the stock market freezes. So you can do these really interesting things where you can sell a bunch of a stock and it won't go down in value. You can also withhold and not divest to investors, in which case normally your stock value would plummet, but at the benefit of injecting a bunch of money into the company. But when you do it during the communism period, there's no consequence. So you just get to store a bunch of money in the actual rail line without having to pay it out. There's all these cool things that you can do. I would play one of these again. I'm kind of more inclined to play it online asynchronously. There's like an 18xx.com website. The UI is really good because I tried it out just to make sure I was understanding all the rules prior to us getting into our session. And I'm very interested to get a game of some 18xx going virtually. And not so much doing another 9-hour session. I'm going to have to take a break from that for like maybe a year. But curious to explore the system more. Definitely lived up to the hype, maybe even more than I expected. 18xx.
I mean, it sounds kind of sick. I feel like I missed out on something despite I'm not sure that I'm really in like ever going to be in a place where I'm like, 9 hours of gaming and we don't even finish. Sign me up. You know, Is there anything
Well,
do you think it would go faster the next time?
oh, it would definitely go faster, but let's not kid ourselves. It's not going to be a 2-hour game. Like, I think the box says 5 hours. And you know boxes.
Yeah. They do famously lie.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm the master of being impatient. And I didn't feel like, I felt like the time flew by when we played this.
Interesting.
And there are games that are much, much shorter than this where I felt like things dragged on. So that speaks to something, right?
I think so. Sounds like there's something going on.
There's something there. And watch, somebody's going to get hyped about playing 18XX from what I'm saying right now. They're going to go and they're going to be like, this was the longest shit ever. I hated it. I don't think it's for everyone.
I'm sad that the communism phase did not begin. Is it something, do you know, is it something like literally everyone's assets get redistributed somehow or something? Like,
so
what
there's
happens?
no redistribution. The biggest change is what I mentioned. Like, companies can't operate the ways they used to, which includes there not being a stock market necessarily.
It's a pretty fascinating idea to basically be playing a game and then you're playing a different game halfway through, but after you've like built a bunch of shit up. How many other games do that?
I don't know. Like through the ages kind of does that. The mechanisms don't necessarily change, but yeah, Brass too. I mean, same thing with China, right? Like the game didn't change at a fundamental level, but it just had this really big twist. So,
yeah, interesting.
1880 China.
Okay. I played a really old game. Talk about shelf stable, Kenny. It's it was called Samurai Swords. But if you try finding that on Board Game Geek, it'll redirect you to some newer reprint that they call Ikusa. So go figure. But the original game's from 1986. I think most people know it as Samurai Swords. You may have heard of this game as Shogun, but it is not the same game as the game Shogun. Just for clarification, hope that's not confusing at all. It's designed by Michael Gray and published by Milton Bradley. That's right. Milton Bradley. Not Parker Brothers Milton Bradley, but like just Milton Bradley. I can already hear our buddy Ian. This was his idea to play this game, and he invited people into it. I feel like I somehow came across as if I was not enthusiastic about playing this game. I was interested in trying out this game. I think for some reason I was worried that it was going to be like really dull and irritating in the way that some of these like older games can be. But that was not how I actually felt. And in fact, I'd actually like to play this again because basically I took an aggressive early strategy that did not work out for me at all. But in retrospect, it's because I made incorrect moves. Like I know what I should have done in order for the idea that I wanted to execute to actually have worked, or at least had much better odds to have worked, shall we say. Because at the end of the day, this is a dice rolling sort of winner take all area control game, very much inspired by or in the veins of Risk, but set in a feudal Japan with a lot more going for it mechanically than I think even Risk has. And the best part about this game, over as far as I can tell, is this bidding system that actually lets you like determines what happens on your turn. So you can bid for turn order, which can be huge, basically, if you want to be the player that battles first. And then on top of that, you have to kind of distribute your tokens evenly in order to build up armies as you want, move your armies, create defensive structures, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of decisions that you always have to make at the beginning of each turn. And then once those decisions are locked in, it's kind of a matter of like sitting and watching as battles across the table resolve in big, massive roll-offs, which I know you're kind of a fan of rolling to resolve combat And I tend to enjoy it as well.
Am I a fan of rolling to resolve?
Well, I just think, we both like Eclipse, for example.
I think that rolling to resolve, it really depends. It depends on how many dice there are and how clunky it is in terms of the flow, right? I think a really good execution of this is arcs.
Uh-huh.
And I think that Eclipse can be exciting when it's those big battles that happen. Eclipse is less fun when that happens nonstop in smaller little battles that are happening all over the place.
I feel like Samurai Swords does a good job of there being like big battles that resolve themselves relatively quickly through like combat rounds. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't, if you're not one of the players rolling off, that it doesn't start to feel like it takes a little longer than it should. But like even someone else's battles can be kind of engaging for you because you might be on a border territory with one of those two armies and you're kind of like, oh my God, I hope I can take advantage of this when it comes back to my turn, I don't know. It very much compares itself to Risk, but there's, I think, more going on in ways that make it more interesting for me. And I think I would be much more likely to return to this than to ever pull out Risk again. Like, if someone was like, let's play Risk, I'd be like, sure, yeah, why not, I guess. But like, Samurai Swords, like, I thought it was going to be long and tedious in a lot of the ways that Risk is. And it felt like it was it was very approachable. And I felt it would go by very quick, especially at 2 or 3 players, if you kind of knew what to expect.
That's good to know.
So I think it's probably best at 3 if I were to pick. Now, the one thing that I wanted to say about this, in addition to all that, is that this game is like dripping with style in a weird way that I think a lot of these newer games have sort of lost. And I can't quite figure out what it is that I think is missing. But I think there's a way in which like components are valued these days for their manufacturing simplicity in a way that no one was worried about perhaps in the 80s. And this is probably just a result of like the economic excess of that era compared to where we're at now. It just feels like there's something about the fact that there's like a bazillion of these tiny plastic samurai dudes, and there's like 4 different shapes in 5 different colors. I think even 6 different shapes in like 5 different colors. There's just so much like detail that I feel like we don't get very often anymore. This game is just like a relatively straightforward, simple war game, and it's got all this detail to it. I feel like if I were making like a simple combat game these days, I would be disincentivized as a publisher or producer from putting this much detail into like the theme of the game. Does that quite make sense?
Yeah.
And just stuff like it's a little bit impractical that turn order is kind of determined by drawing these plastic swords out of someone's hand. It's like a little bit cumbersome. It's a little bit of work to actually do it. And I feel like if I were a modern designer, I wouldn't be thinking of like, how can I make this extremely thematic moment part of the experience? Instead, I would just be like, how can I most efficiently put this in my box?
Yeah, there's almost like this lack of like the auteur, know, like with the exception of a few designers, I think it's difficult to be successful commercially and also niche, if that makes sense.
There's just something about like making your players do a little bit more work just for nothing but like an inch more of like flavor. I don't know. There's something about that doesn't happen anymore very often. At least that's like the feeling I have. But I love if people told me I was wrong on this and they're like, no, you're overlooking all these things.
No, I think that's fair.
There's something about that, right?
There's definitely in the community as well as with designers this pressure to make sure that you're using best practices. And I would argue that best practices don't always result in the best game or the most fun game. Sometimes, throwing things in that are often considered to be like, oh, why would you put that in, actually is what makes the game.
There's a good like metaphor for this that I think works, which is like in a lot of contexts, it might be great to have something that's like fully polished to the extreme, right? It's smooth, but there's a way in which that something that's rough around the edges is going to have a texture that makes it easier to remember, harder to forget.
Yeah, texture, that's the word.
That's what Samurai Swords had. It had this needless, in a way, arguably, texture to it that I felt was quite enjoyable, or quaint even.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get back to this one and give it a more wise effort than the effort I gave it when I came into it. I definitely came in guns blazing, bat swinging, because on a certain sense, I knew that if I lost early on, I would be able to meet up with people at the convention because this was like a side event.
Ah, there it is. It
was like maybe a little bit of a riskier strategy than I might have taken if my entire goal was actually win this thing. Does that make sense? But I don't think I really made choices that I wouldn't have similarly made. I probably still just get eliminated the first time I play this. Because I just don't know the systems, and I'm really bad at war games in general, in my experience.
Samurai Swords, now Ikusa.
It redirects to Ikusa on Board Game Geek, but Samurai Swords.
Well, speaking of samurais and swords, I got to play Broom Service from 2015. Designer Andreas Pelikan and Alexander Pfister, Alea. This is a follow-up to Witch's Brew, which was an Andreas Pelikan only game, and then Alexander Pfister came in and was like, what if we do like pick up and deliver? But originally Witch's Brew was just the card system of this game. And Broom Service, it was So we played this a year and a half ago.
Sounds about right.
And at the time, it was kind of like a grail game. Like, it wasn't super expensive, but it's really hard to come by. I feel like I see this more often now. We thought it was okay at the time. I don't even think we finished. I think I enjoyed it a lot more this time. I'm still not like, this is amazing. This isn't like a La Granja 180, But I saw the game through. It was fun. It has a cool action selection system, and that's basically it. I still haven't played Witch's Brew. We have someone in the group that has it. I think I would probably like that more because for me, the pick up and deliver aspect does nothing for me. To me, it doesn't add anything. But what is interesting about the game is this semi-trick-takey cowardly versus brave system. So somebody's going to lead by picking one of the action cards in their hand. And then they can say, I'm doing the cowardly action or the brave action. If they do the cowardly action, they just get to do it. And then it goes to the next person. The next person either passes if they don't have that action in their hand, or they reveal they also have the action and they pick cowardly or brave. Cowardly, same thing. If you pick brave at any point, then at the end, if you are the last person that picked brave, you're going to get to do the thing. If you pick brave and nobody picks brave, great, you are the bravest, and you get to do a superpower juiced up version of the action. But if you pick brave and someone after you picks brave, you get to do nothing for that turn. In summary, cowardly, you're guaranteed to do the weak thing. Brave, you have a chance to do the strong thing, but only if nobody else picks brave after you. So it's kind of tricky.
It's interesting, yeah.
So there's this mind game, right? Because you can look at the board and you can look at what people have and think like, they are very likely to have this action right now and want to do it. And I know for a fact that they're going to say brave, so I'm going to do cowardly. And then psych, they knew that you knew, and so you got a little bit of Death Note going on. There's also this interesting thing where like you pick brave and then the person after you that you totally didn't think would have that card says, oh, I also have that card. And you're like, oh, shit. But they pick cowardly for some reason, and then nobody else has picked that. And so you end up being successful in picking the brave, and then you go, why did you pick cowardly? And they're like, oh, I thought the next person had also picked that, and so I didn't want to risk saying brave because I would rather you win it with brave than I don't get to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, okay, well, I'm happy it played out that way, but you could have picked brave. Mm-hmm. Like, there's all these interesting kind of like things that evolve out of this system. I think the system's really cool. I'm just really like, I'm not opposed to, but I'm really not going nuts for the whole game that plays out as a result of these actions. Because functionally, you're just completing recipes and moving around the board to deliver the recipes.
I feel like you could create almost like a variant of Race for the Galaxy with the brave cowardly mechanics somehow added in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's something to be tapped into here. Like the brave cowardly is really unique. It's added to a very kind of run-of-the-mill game. And so if anybody has ideas, there's something here.
It is one of those things that I think, it may be too more narrow than we realize. Like, it just ultimately doesn't work to create really fun moments, except in a narrow band of gameplay. Either that or it's really hard to design around for. I'm not sure. Yeah.
It requires that there's a number of different actions you can take, but not enough where it becomes overwhelming. It also requires that you can, to a certain extent, predict what your opponents might do given their board state without it being completely obvious. And so those are kind of narrow ranges for design. I can't think of how to do it better. So I'm, here I am kind of like pointing out criticisms, but like, I don't have a solution. I just do think like I guess what I'm saying is there's something really cool here. I don't think it's baked into this particular design. I think we need to take those ingredients and put them somewhere else. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Broom Service. I know everybody's been asking me, Kenny, what do you think of Broom Service? So there you go. Everybody's been asking this. I got a message from Donald Trump, President of America. He was like, are you going to talk about Broom Service on today's episode? And I was like, Trump, please stop messaging me.
Are you talking about Broom Service? You better be talking about Broom Service. Everyone's talking about it.
Oh, we got the best brooms. We're always picking brave. You better not pick brave. We're picking brave.
It's kind of like, in my mind, I think like doing the Trump voice is like almost its own thing. Like, it has nothing to do with the reality of Trump anymore. It's just
Trump voice is chuggy though.
That's true. We're really out here trying to come for Northern Lions like whole career though. With that take.
What? No, but like Gen Zers are like, don't do Trump voice, right?
I don't. Probably. If you're Gen Z and you're listening to this, you tell us, are we chuggy?
Well, the answer is yes,
Yeah,
but I guess, are we chuggy because of Trump voice? Is Trump voice chuggy?
Is Trump voice chuggy? Are we chuggy maxing out here? I think we are.
Yeah. And before you come at us saying that the word chuggy is nothing, we know. We're still, but you understand what we mean when we say that.
Speaking of chuggy, does it get more chuggy than the year 2016, Kenny?
I'm in the year 2015, right?
Yeah, probably. I'm talking about Captain Sonar from 2016, designed by Roberto Fraga and Yohan Lemonnier, published by Matagot. Captain Sonar. It's kind of legendary. Is it on your list?
It is.
Yeah. I think we talked about it back then. I'm just going to talk about it again here because I played it again for the first time in probably about a year. And here's the thought I have when Captain Sonar is like getting pulled out, potentially get on the table. I go, oh no, because it's like anxiety inducing in my head, but then I'm actually playing it and it's fun. It's like
a warm bath.
Do you get anxious about getting into a warm bath? Or
not anxious, but I like don't want to do it.
I'm like, that's not. It's
ugh.
more like standing in line for a roller coaster for me. It's just like I know that when I get there, it's going to be a good time. But like, man, does that thing look tall?
It's like a warm bath with shards of glass at the bottom.
It's like a warm bath on a roller coaster. Like You don't want to have to do the work to get it set up, but it's going to be really fun.
I really want to work the bath into it somehow. So thanks for yes-anding me.
I'd love to ride a roller coaster that lets you take a bath at the same time. Can you imagine? I can imagine.
But if you fall out though, not only would you get really hurt, but then everybody would see your pee, and then that would be, you'd get the psychic damage and the physical damage.
Well, I already expose myself online every day by doing this show, so.
You're saying you already got the psychic damage?
Yeah, exactly.
What role did you play?
So I was once again radio operator, which I don't know. I feel like I've played radio operator more than almost any other role. I really need to like be the captain next time or something like that. But it always feels like I sit at a chair, someone hands me radio operator, and I just go, this is my life now. Like, I'm not even actively trying to be that guy, but I do also think I'm pretty good at it. So everyone always talks about radio operator being like the most challenging role. I kind of disagree. I think the captain is the most difficult in terms of like what you need to do. Because radio op has like one fucking job, which is listen to the other player's captain. And yes, that can be pretty annoying and confusing and stressful, perhaps. But it's not actually like hard to strategize. It's just like, just fucking listen and pay attention, idiot, and write it down. You know what I mean? like I'm just saying, you just have, it's like you really have one job. But if you're captain, it's like you have to like be thinking about which direction your sub is heading, which of the systems that's going to fuck up next, whether or not we need to announce a stop so that we can like launch a drone, how close we are to the enemy. So you're like trying to look at the radio operator, figure out like where you want the sub to go to get closer to the enemy. But you also are like, do I even have mines online? Are torpedoes online? Are we about to bust because all our nukes are dead? Because I keep turning left. There's a lot to, I think, actually think about as captain. So I challenge you, Captain Sonar teachers, to stop telling people that radio op is the most difficult position. It's not. Captain is the hardest position, in my opinion.
No, the hardest position is the people trying to play the Lacerda game at the table next to you.
That is true. Our team won, and it was close. I mean, it's funny, though, because I think a lot of the damage of the ship was actually a result of people yelling stop when we didn't actually have systems online. So there was like no reason to actually stop. So we were taking like the rules penalty,
They killed themselves. You just fired the
Well,
last
we were
shot.
both doing it, but the other team, I think, like 3 individual times was like stop, and then like they blew themselves up. It seemed like there was a lack of understanding between the two players there. But it just goes back to captain being such a difficult role, right? I was going to say, shout out Brandon for believing in me, because I had, as radio op, like confidently pinpointed their exact location. And we were like going to fire torpedoes on them. They only had 1 health left, so we didn't even need a direct hit. And the engineer like said as much. He's like, just shoot where we know it's going to hit them. And I'm like, I have 90% confidence interval that they're like at E4. It's like, we shoot in this adjacent zone, we'll hit no matter what. And Brandon was just like, well, fuck, fire E4. So it's like, he just like went for the direct hit, which like could have technically missed. But no, it was dead on. So it was great. A great way to close it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like it was a good session.
Yeah, it was great. It was like everyone else was a stranger to me. This was literally a convention game. I do think it's probably like the best way to do it. So I encourage our listeners perhaps to be the guy to host the game of Captain Sonar, because like I think it does give everyone a good time if someone else can facilitate the teach, which is a bit of a bear. But it's really not too hard to jump back into is kind of what I found. So I like this game quite a bit. We should play it more often.
Nice. Captain Sonar 2016.
100 games to play before you die.
It's time for the part of the show where we talk about the 100 games that you are required to play before you die. Rest in peace to a lot of people this week, actually. I mean, they always say like celebrities die in threes. We had Hulk Hogan, Ozzy Osbourne.
I love how this becomes like a news piece, like this particular.
It's a
part
little
of the
bit of
show.
like an in memoriam segment as well. Yeah. What was
memoriam, Ozzy Osbourne, he only got all the way to Captain Sonar.
What was the third guy? There is someone. It was like, I know that guy's name. It wasn't like nobody. Chuck Mangione. Yeah. Chuck Mangione, Hulk Hogan, and Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne, someone described it online as like finding out your friend's pet chihuahua died. It's like died at 7 years old with like chronic conditions or something. It's like, you're not surprised that it died. You're more surprised that it lived that long in the first place. It's like upsetting because you just figured, okay, if it survived that much, it must be immortal. And it's like, no, apparently not, you know? So yeah, what can I say? We've all gone off the rails on a crazy train out here with this tangent. So game number 40 on Kenny's list.
Okay, pause. I could have sworn that we started talking about the lyrics to Crazy Train in an episode, and then I was like, I don't think that's the words, and you're like, I'm pretty sure those are the words. Do you remember this? Is this like a deja vu moment? Did we cause Ozzy to die? Is this like another one?
Uh-oh. I can believe that we brought up Crazy Train on the pod, and that you got the lyrics wrong.
So we killed Jimmy Carter, and now we killed Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, it's our fault. Oh no.
Jesus. We gotta stop mentioning anyone.
Well, but we've tried. So like Donald Trump we just talked about him on this episode.
We're just not saying his name enough.
Yeah, we're doing our best, guys. Sorry. If we do a Trump impersonation, that's the reasoning, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Game number 40, though. Number 40 is a really sad number for this game because it's the game of all games. That's right. It's CATAN from 1995, designed by Klaus Teuber and published by Mayfair. 1995, basically the BCE year of board gaming, as some people like to say.
It's a very influential game. I'm not going to go too much on CATAN because A, we've already talked about it on the cast, and B, I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this podcast that you know what CATAN is. Let's talk about the reasoning with this one. This is a hot button game. You remember this, Tom. This came off the list. It got switched with other stuff. It got back on the list. It came off again, and then it came back on. And the conversation always came back to Monopoly. It was like, hey, you're not putting Monopoly on the list. And we're like, yeah, because Monopoly's bad. And they were like, the other people who were arguing anti-Catan were like, yeah, but Catan is bad. And we're like, well, it still has an important place. And also it's not that bad. And then they were like, well, you can't put Catan and not Monopoly. I don't know. It was a weird kind of like line of thought. I understand where they were coming from. At the end of the day, though, I think that Catan, despite having flaws and being somewhat of a dated design, is still pretty damn fun, first of all. And you can't deny how important it is to board gaming as a whole.
Yes.
And if the criteria for being on this list is that it shows you an aspect of the hobby that isn't touched on by other things in the list, and that it is like worth playing, it is worth experiencing, I would argue that even if it's a subpar experience compared to some of the games on the list, it's still worth having if you've never played Catan before. I think just having played Catan is an important thing, whereas I would argue for the sake of Monopoly that you could live your whole life without playing Monopoly and you're probably okay. You're not like, oh, I haven't played Monopoly.
I can't die yet.
If
I gotta get it to the table.
You know, you've been spared to a certain extent, right?
Right.
Ozzy Osbourne notoriously never played Monopoly, you know.
I think 10 years ago, you go back then, if we're doing the show back then, and we said, okay, Catan is on the list of games that you have to play. People will be like, "Ah, shut up. Come on. We got Machi Koro now. We got like all these other fucking games that like roll dice, resolve actions and blah blah blah, and they do it better."
I think this temporarily became space-based.
Yeah.
I think is what it became.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like everyone thought, "Oh, we invented the Catan killer." Okay. I'm here to tell you that in 2025, there is no Catan killer because Catan is fucking good. It's just like is it flawed? Does it have like balancing issues, quote unquote? Are there aspects of the game that can feel unfair and, can you just sit there the entire game and literally never roll a resource on your turn? Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Sure. Fine. Whatever. But the game is fucking, it's still good. Like it's totally underglazed.
I agree.
So we're here to correct that wrong.
I think it's really solid. I think you need to keep people accountable to get the game continuing, and you have to be okay with there being turns where the best thing to do is just trade with the ports.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's a fun game, especially when you lean into its strengths.
I think if you're having trouble enjoying Catan, the issue might be primarily that either your table talk is not good enough, like skill issue in that sense, or you're letting players control their turn for too long, kind of like you're saying, right? It's like you just have to kind of set some sort of clock to keep the rhythm going,
right?
Or else it's just way too long to like browbeat negotiations because you're holding the game hostage and not passing the turn.
I agree. Catan, 1995.
All right. Enough yapping, enough bullshitting, whatever the fuck we've been talking about. It's time to get into the real, the true, the absolute meat and potatoes of this podcast. And that's the main topic of this week's episode, the part of the show that people come back week after week to listen to every single time. And we're going to go in a completely unhinged, different type of direction. We've never done something stupid before, so we're doing something stupid today. We're imagining a world where board gaming is as important as sci-fi entertainment Netflix specials. Black Mirror. I've never fucking seen this show. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I mean, the general conceit.
I've never firsthand watched a full episode. Have I watched video analysis things on YouTube about the infamous social credit system episode? Yes, I've seen like 8 million of those.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a 1 out of 5 for not having watched it.
That's totally fair from my understanding.
I've watched the first 3 seasons. And I feel like I've read the Wikipedia articles for the rest of the episodes. The good old Kenny treatment. So I think it's very popular to either religiously love Black Mirror or religiously hate Black Mirror.
There is no in between.
Unpopular to just... Yeah, I think it's unpopular to be mid on it, and I'm kind of mid. So I'm just trying to be a contrarian.
Classic.
I'm trying to...
Classic hipster Kenny take. I love the framing of this where you just go like everyone in society either has it wrong in one direction or wrong in the other direction. And I have it right by being in the middle.
Yeah.
I like that.
Now that we've given our takes on Black Mirror, let's be clear, because there was a little confusion about this with people submitting certain things. I don't want this to be about technology.
Fuck technology. Why do you think we're doing a board game podcast? We ain't out here about technology.
So the premise, and I thought I was clear when I prompted, but maybe not. The premise is, what if Black Mirror, but not technology, board games?
Yeah.
And then people were like, well, it's an episode where like ChatGPT makes them play board games. I'm like, no. Get rid of the technology. It's okay if there's technology, but like that's not the point. Black Mirror is about, it's a reflection of our current environment. Mm-hmm. If it was exaggerated or brought to a point where technology got out of hand and kind of the perils and cautions around that. I'm saying, what if you took the cultural aspects of board gaming and took them to an extreme? Well, some people understood the prompt, others didn't. So apologies if I wasn't clear. But with that, we're going to focus on the people who did understand. Did you read any of these, Tom?
Yeah, so my So I see you did the work. You went out on Reddit and Board Game Geek, created a thread for both of these. What would your Black Mirror but board games episode be? I love that. And the top comment on Reddit has me laughing automatically. They said, "What if board game, but too much?" That's pretty much every Black Mirror episode as I understand it.
I like this next one, though.
Okay.
You play an exciting new game at board game night someone brought. It's a life simulator, and while playing, you discover during the week you are playing a random real person. Every session becomes more intense, and you try to win so their lives won't be miserable. In the final scene, it is revealed your life is being played by someone else, and they are losing very badly.
So this is literally just Stranger Than Fiction, but the board game.
Yeah,
I like that.
I just love the twist that like it zooms out and then like you're fucked, you know?
Yeah. I love the idea.
I think the twist is what makes this.
Yeah. I love the idea of like my life being a board game that someone is losing at. Because like I'm also imagining that the person playing as me is like complaining about the rules. It's just like he's like, oh, it's kind of bullshit anyway, because like if I'd known that like college just gets you like automatically 200% increase in revenue year over year, I would have done that like 8 turns ago, but no one ever explained that to me or something like that. Like they're having the same problems that I'm having, but just in a completely different context.
Yeah. I didn't realize that if you just roll having a stable family relationship at home and also like a generous amount of income, that you're just basically, it's like a win more game. Like it's like, Jimmy didn't start off with divorced
parents like I did. It's like just stuff like that.
Sometimes it really do be like that though.
Yeah, it's true. The game of life, except this time, it's asymmetrical player powers, and so one of them is just like teen mom or something like that's like your starting character or something like that. You have to pick like how you're born or who you're born to. That's what goes on,
or gets randomly selected.
Sure, something.
So thank you, user A Brutalist Building. I thought that was a pretty solid one. Our friend John submitted one. A set collection game where you upload your brain juice and the cards are populated by your dreams and fantasies. You have to collect pieces of your fantasies together to win, and many of them are an embarrassing and sexual nature. You have to play with your mom and your spouse and your coworker.
You have to?
And their fantasies are mixed into the deck too.
I guess that's the only part that loses me. It's like, why do I have to play it with these people?
It's maybe it's like a cultural, like it's part of the social construct or something.
Do you think society would be better if we could have this? Because I think it would be, in a way. We'd understand each other more.
I'm generally a fan of disclosure and openness as a whole. And I feel like, I think there is a place for everything, but I do think that we're in a position of not doing enough of it as opposed to doing too much of it. So there's more to it. The twist is that it cuts to this game, the fantasies game, being played by a murderer who is being tortured with the game as a form of cost-effective therapy. The twist is that after getting embarrassed and having the relationships fray, mom makes it into a co-op game and everyone experiences acceptance and intimacy.
So the twist is that society gets better, actually.
The twist is society gets better, even though we're torturing people with it. But they're bad people, so I don't know.
I like a lot.
There's a lot of layers.
It makes me kind of sad because now I'm thinking about the late great Satoshi Kon, and I feel like he could have made like
very Satoshi Kon.
Yeah, he could have made this movie, and it would have been fucking awesome. So
this is like Paprika, the trading card game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, next. This is from One Sharp Suit. I have a weekly game of Battlestar Galactica with my wife and best friends. I am a Cylon every single time. No matter how suspiciously I act, the other players trust me unquestioningly. When I reveal myself, they are always shocked every single time. I win every game, but as my evil moves get more and more brazen, I start to wonder how I can do this easily to my loved ones. Can their trust mean anything when I am so clearly undeserving of it? I tell one of them that I need to borrow $50 and will absolutely pay it back next week.
Part of the reason I like this idea, the fact that it starts to like spiral out of control as he like starts to subject the player group to more and more evil deeds. First of all, it's like cinnamon roll behavior to like say that you're gonna borrow $50. Like that's your evil plan. You're gonna start taking like a little bit of money from your friends.
Well, that's how it starts,
yeah, exactly.
right? That's like and then it ends with
and then he becomes the Joker,
him committing a murder in front of them, and he's like, "It's not what it looks like," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we believe you."
But I also sort of love the philosophical question of sorts, where it's like, imagine if every time you played BSG, this exact thing was happening. You were always a Cylon. You did always get away with it. Would you enjoy the act of the game like at all? Would it mean anything to you anymore? This
is like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead kind of question.
Yeah, exactly.
Here. And I don't think we're equipped to unpack.
That's what Black Mirror is all about, is making people ask these questions. Or that's what it should be about. So. I don't know that it's still doing that very well, from what I understand.
You've been saying a lot of like, this is what Black Mirror is about, with like
never seen Black Mirror. It's what sci-fi should be about, is making people ask questions about technology. Yeah. Not just scaring them into logging off Instagram.
Yeah.
Although that would also be a boon.
Because that's the opening of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. They were like flipping a coin and it's been heads for like 540 times in a row or something.
Mm-hmm. Or like always correctly identifying which Twix you got blindfolded. 540 left Twix in a row.
Or that, I guess, yeah. But one of them is like having an existential crisis for good reason, because he's like, either there is no God and this, or like this is like a sick twisted joke, or it's all meaningless, but we just happen to be in like the strangest of positions and we have no way of knowing until like it's tails, basically. I think it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if I'm equipped to answer your question, Tom. Do you have a take? Would you still enjoy it?
I think if I was getting away with being a Cylon every single time I played Battlestar, I would stop playing Battlestar. That's just fair. Sort of like my practical answer to it. Does it? But it's like kind of what you're saying, where it's just like you keep wondering if the next time you play Battlestar, you aren't going to be a Cylon this time, and you aren't going to get away with it this time, because you never actually know. So it's like being in that Schrodinger stasis or whatever is like the worst part about it, I'd say.
Yeah, just living that hell of like, is this all predictive or is this a coincidence? I think is the interesting conversation to have. I like when we outsource our work like this.
Yeah, it's great.
I got so much shit done this week. It was like crazy. Jay from 3 Minute Board Games, a board game club where everyone stops playing with each other and instead sits there playing against ChatGPT on their phones. They continuously complain they can't find anyone to play against in a room full of people doing the same thing. Oof. Well, Black Mirror is a lot about social commentary too, so.
Would Black Mirror like, or I guess like, what's like the conceit that gets people to even start down this path? Or would Black Mirror just be would they just present this as if like this is how people are naturally going to want to behave for some reason?
If I were to write it, I would have this being the establishing premise, the whole ChatGPT, but then two people in the room wake up, look away by coincidence, from an accident. They escape, they build a relationship that transcends. First, they just start by playing the games physically and realizing there's a lot of value to playing it physically.
Yeah.
And then they play and they develop a romantic relationship with each other.
Okay.
But then one of them beats the other one too hard in the game, and the other one retracts to their phone, and then the one who beat them also then goes back to their phone. That's how the episode ends.
It's tragic. You know what else this reminds me of though? Is Infinite Jest, the board game.
Yeah.
Because you know what the premise of Infinite Jest is?
It's the one where it's like Balatro, right? You have 1,000,000 jokers and you have to find the best jokers, but you can only have 5 at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. There's like an infinite selection of jokers, but you can only pick a couple of them to play with.
Right.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
I haven't read the book myself, but part of the premise of the book is that the stories are held together by a film within the book called Infinite Jest that is so captivating that people basically like become obsessed with it and stop living normal life and die, like, as pretty much they just like they can't do anything else but keep rewatching and analyzing Infinite Jest. And
so it is about
yeah,
Balatro.
exactly.
Shit, I was just joking.
Yeah, it is basically Balatro. But it's like, what if there was a board game that was that, where it's just like you play it once and you're like never going to not play it again? You know, that's the Black Mirror episode, is that it's just like, honey, like you've been up all night. It's just like, I know. And it's like, I just need to try this one more time. I feel like if I go for this strategy, I'll be able to like get through to the next level.
There were a few that were like that, yeah. Jake Waltier says, board game as a service model where you can't play a game you bought unless you connect to a network that you have to subscribe to. Every publisher that doesn't do this gets bought by Asmodee, and their existing games out in the world are converted to this model at the push of a button.
I feel like that's like too close to home.
Yeah, that one's a little too close. Didn't we talk about this recently? Like we had a whole episode that was like board games as a subscription model. Yeah, the free-to-play episode.
I think we talked about the possibility of this being something that people try to explore. The thing I like to imagine is that it's simply like, this is just a medium that will never allow itself to be subsumed by this. Society would have to change pretty significantly because of some sort of unfathomable technology that makes this like even possible in the first place. And I just feel like if that happens, it won't be in our lifetime. So
This one comes from at Nijay. In an apartment complex, the board selects a random tenant to join the monthly board game night to, quote unquote, keep things fair. They always play the same Euro game, which is a self-referential game about managing tenants in an apartment building. The board members, of course, know all the strategies and have every card and probability memorized. The tenant has never been able to read the rules. The game is unknown outside of this circle. There's an awkward number of parallels between the game and the actual apartment complex. It becomes apparent to the tenant that their in-game decisions have real-life consequences. As their decision-making slows down, the board members apply increased pressure, quarterbacking by spitting out obvious moves to kick out a delinquent tenant or raise rent and start calling out long turns. Inevitably, the tenant loses and is kicked out of the apartment.
I've got the name for this episode. Tenants.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, like this is like a twist on the other one where instead of it being like you are responsible for one individual, it's like you get randomly selected to be the burden for the other people in your building. But it's all built for you to lose, which makes it even more stressful. It's like it's deflecting culpability over to the individual. This is like recycling. This is just recycling. Right?
Yeah, I think I get what you mean. I kind of like this next one from Scathane. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your username right. Someone becomes obsessed with training the perfect gaming AI, so kidnaps a bunch of elite board gamers and forces them to play board games against the AI over and over again. To ensure they play their best, their access to food is conditioned on their ability to occasionally beat the increasingly difficult AI. As a Black Mirror episode, I'm not sure if this works, but as the next installment in the Saw franchise, I think this is really good. It's just like, you want to play a game.
I feel like this is something that like, what's his name? Jeffrey Kornberg. I feel like this is something that he would do on the Dragon's Tomb. Like, I kidnap 50 famous board game YouTubers and put them in a room. Like, it's like a riff on Mr. Beast.
I love the idea that it does like the AI voice, just like, I kidnapped 50 board gamers and put them in one room. Like,
last person standing gets $10,000.
Yeah, Mr. Beast, 2 rooms and a boom, but there's actually a bomb. Like he's like enthusiastically like
Yeah, it's just Mr. B's face like smiling and pointing back while there's like an explosion going.
yeah, he's just like wow, like he's like doing poggers at it.
No, we shouldn't say this because what if Mr. Beast wants to be on the show? That's how we're gonna make it big.
I would love to have Jimmy on the show.
Oh, whatever. That ship has sailed. He does love Dune Imperium apparently.
Oh really? Hot shit! Damn,
He's like a huge.
We should
fan of
reach
Dune
out.
Imperium.
Get the beast mob rolling in here.
I don't want the Beast. Like somebody on TikTok interviewed Mr. Beast and was like, "Do you ever think you'll have kids?" And then he was like, right now I'm in a place in my life where I'm like trying to maximize the output that I can make of every single minute of my life. So I always compare the amount of value I can get from that minute to the amount of time, consumed. And so right now I don't feel comfortable with the idea of such a large chunk of my time being allocated to producing a small version of myself. But in thinking about the future, is there a moment in my life where one day I would be like, yeah, there's enough of a positive output that I could see myself growing and forming and creating a small version of myself. And I think I could see a scenario in which I would say, yes, that is worth the time. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what, like, is that all you see people? I know I do. I always do a bit where I'm like, you're all numbers to me so that I can play a game that requires 2 or more people. But I'm joking when I say that. He was not doing a bit. Like, it's just insane the shit that comes out of his mouth.
You know what? I think I should start living my life where I'm trying to maximize like every minute of my time because I'm definitely not doing that, and I don't have Mr. Beast level resources. So I think I need to change my life up.
You're gonna beast it up?
I gotta beast it up. I'm gonna start buying his chocolate bars for energy.
His what is the snack? Feastables. Yeah. Gotta stock up on those Feastables.
I mean, like, I can't make my life worse, right? I'm kidding. I'm joking. Let's just get back to talking about Black Mirror episodes.
I like this one. This one reminds me of the chess butt plug thing, the butt plug scandal.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah, famously, it was alleged that someone cheated over the board using vibrations coming out of something inserted in their rectum.
I think it was just a rumor, right?
It was like everyone was basically like, how can someone be cheating over the board? Like, unless he had something, stuffed inside of him.
All right, but this is from ELKVT. Basically, someone wants to cheat in something that requires no luck, so like chess, and implants a chip in their brain in order to calculate the right moves in order to win every time. They make a program that simulates moves in order to have a winning outcome. Comes to the day of the competition. First game goes great. Opponent gets completely wrecked. After a fierce game in which the cheater wins, the board resets and the opponent starts to act like they haven't played before, making unexpected moves. Unfortunately, the program is taking the main character through every possible move that could be made in the game of chess by both players, but in real time. So cut back to the real world, and the main character has lost due to time, lays in a comatose state in a hospital until they die, always thinking about what moves they can make without actually doing anything. So like the program just like goes nuts because of the unexpectedness of the opponent. And then they're just like stuck calculating and crunching the numbers for the rest of time. This just describes playing with Tom though. Mm. Like this isn't too scary to me.
I'm the one that crunches the numbers for eternity.
Yeah. You're just like, hold on. I know I'm already winning and I've created a nutritional market in Pax Pamir, but let me think about my turn for another 5 minutes. So I don't know. This one's not too scary to me. I deal with this shit every Friday.
I just love the idea that like you come visit me. I'm like on my hospital bed and I'm still like about to take my turn. Like I'm still trying to figure it out.
All right. Next, Jimul Dome says an episode where a worker is placed in various areas to perform what seems to be a menial task serves the benefit of the one who controls the worker. Over time, the quote-unquote controller gets stronger and stronger, able to take more risks with the wealth the worker is generating. The cards are stacked against the worker, as once the controller has quote-unquote won the game of life, the worker is dismissed, put in a confined space until called upon to play the controller's game again.
This is just real life. This is just having a job.
That's just Toy Story. This is just Toy Story.
Oh, yeah.
Unless, you're describing real life, in which case that's just having a job.
Sometimes I do have an intrusive thought where it's just like, what if what happens after you die is you come back as an inanimate object? And then it's like, what if like that object was like a piece in a board game that barely ever gets pulled out? It's like 90% of the time you're just like chilling in darkness, just like, and then it's like, like out of the shelf.
I don't know. I just think it'd be so weird if there were souls inside of inanimate objects. That feels so like non-intuitive to me.
Right, but like imagine.
So
though,
would you, we can entertain the.
Would you rather?
Would
you rather like be buried in the ground straight up and like find out that it's just like an eternal darkness, but you have consciousness? It's just like you're just in the ground forever, nothing ever happens, and it's boring. Or would you rather be a board game piece for like that's 90% of your life, but then every once in a while you get to like get pulled out because someone finally decided to play Haunted Teutonica again?
I'd rather get pulled out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, there is an arbiter of the afterlife that gets to decide which inanimate objects your soul goes into, I'm gonna choose the funny shape from Jungle Speed. I'll be the funny totem. And we'll just kind of see where that gets me.
Careful. All right. Any other good ones here? There were a lot of good ones. I don't think we'll be able to get through everything.
Yeah, let's just do like a bullet thing. You can rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 on the give it an IMDb score. Ready? Okay, yeah. It's chronicles of crime, but the players slowly realize they're tracking down an actual serial killer.
Yeah, 4.
Okay. In order to get a job, you have to beat the manager at a game of chess. And that's it, I think.
No.
That's like a 2, a 1.
That's nothing.
You wake up from a coma and find out that the entire world is playing a game of werewolf and you don't know what your role is.
That one's pretty good. Yeah, I like that.
I got one other for you. Flip 7, where the only way to get out of the game is flipping 7, but if you bust, you die for real.
That's more Saw-like, right?
I guess, yeah. Now we're just doing Squid Game. Board games, but what if it was Squid Games? Which board games would you want in the Squid Games? That's the real question. That'll be next week's episode. We'll just keep this going forever.
I think a board game Squid Games could be good. I can't pronounce that. Board game Squid Games.
Squid Games. Board game Squid Games is almost just the Devil's Plan.
Yeah, and Devil's Plan, season 1, so good. Season 2, everybody should go watch Devil's Plan season 1, though. It's so good.
Yeah, if you listen to this show, you'd probably like that show.
Yeah. All right, are we done?
Yeah, I think I'm running out of the ability to enjoy these synopses, but I think we got some fun ones in there.
Yeah.
We got some stuff that the makers of the actual show could steal from us, and I think it'd be great. We stole from the general public. Black Mirror can steal from us. Thank you to everyone that replied to our forum or gave us ideas in the Discord. Hopefully we credited you appropriately. I just want to say thanks for listening. Thank you especially to Michael, Tyler, Devin, and Josh of the Boise Rainbows for your sweet segue music. And thank you to Bonehouse for letting us use their song Rot as our opening theme.
If you're loving the cast, share it with a friend or on Reddit or on BGG. You can also reach out to us directly at shelfstablecast@gmail.com. All this and more available in the show notes. And if you like what we're doing and want to make more of it happen, consider subscribing to us on Patreon. You'll get access to bonus content and the Discord, and we'll reveal that we're actually all secretly part of a large legacy game. that we've been playing for many, many years. And every time you fall asleep, you wake up a different character with a different role. Tom, next topic.
Well, I've been thinking about it recently. Playing online versus playing over the board. When is it better? When is it worse? Pros, cons? What else? Online versus over the board. That'll be next week.
Hey.